The Senate will come to order. I ask everyone to please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pastor Gregory Robeson Smith of Mount Hope AME Zion Church in White Plains, New York, will deliver today's invocation. Pastor.
O God, our help in ages past, our hope for years to come, our shelter from the stormy blast, and our eternal home. O Lord God, grant the hearts and minds of all of our leaders, men and women, that may be filled with the love of your laws and that of which is righteousness and life-giving, that they may be worthy stewards of your good and perfect gifts. Guide, O Lord, we pray that those who govern this state in righteousness and whose judgments are true and righteous together. Grant, we beseech you, that those who rule over us and who legislate for us may be of one mind to establish justice and promote the welfare of all of our people. Endow all our members of this Senate chamber with the right understanding, pure purposes, and sound speech. Enable them to rise above all self-seeking and petty zeal, party zeal, to a nobler concerns of public good and human brother and sisterhood. Cleanse their public lives of every evil, subdue their communities all that is harmful, and make them disciplined and devoted men and women. And finally, Lord, let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with us. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. And from St. Francis of Assisi, Lord, make us an instrument of your peace. Where there's hatred, let us sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there's doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that we may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is giving that we receive, and it is pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is dying that we are born to learn eternal life. Amen. Amen and amen.
Reading of the journal.
In Senate, Monday, May 20th, 2024, the Senate met pursuant to adjournment. The journal of Sunday, May 19th, 2024, was read and approved. On motion, the Senate adjourned.
Without objection, the journal stands approved as read. Presentation of petitions, messages from the Assembly, the Secretary will read.
Senator Webb moves to discharge from the Committee on Corporations, Authorities, and Commissions, Assembly Bill number 9345, and substituted for the identical Senate Bill 8642, third reading counter 958. Senator Kruger moves to discharge from the Committee on Consumer Protection, Assembly Bill number 4938, B is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 154F, third reading counter 1071. Senator Chu moves to discharge from the Committee on Consumer Protection, Assembly Bill number 8102A, is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 7768, third reading counter 1080. Senator Claire moves to discharge from the Committee on Consumer Protection, Assembly Bill number 9338, is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 8743, third reading counter 1083. Senator Claire moves to discharge from the Committee on Investigation and Government Operations, Assembly Bill number 6811C, is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 6809B, third reading calendar 1117. Senator Claire moves to discharge from the Committee on Investigation and Government Operations, Assembly Bill number 9337, is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 8742, third reading calendar 1123. Senator Oberacker moves to discharge from the Committee on Codes, Assembly Bill number 6738A, and substituted for the identical Senate Bill 6798A, third reading calendar 1159.
So ordered. Messages from the governor, reports of standing committees, reports of select committees, communications and report from state officers, motions and resolutions. Senator Gianaris.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. I wish to call up the following bills recalled from the Assembly, which are now at the desk. Senate print numbers 509A and 6328.
Secretary will read.
Calendar number 300, Senate Print 509A by Senator Thomas, an act to amend the Administrative Code of the City of New York. Calendar number 530, Senate Print 6328 by Senator Ramos, an act to amend the Labor Law.
Move to reconsider the vote by which these bills were passed.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins White, ayes 53.
The bill is restored to its place on the third reading calendar.
I offer the following amendments.
The amendments are received and the bill will retain its place on the third reading calendar.
I also offer amendments to the following third reading calendar bills by Senator Breslin, calendar 883, Senator Sanders, calendar 938, Senator Scarcella-Spanton, calendar 1007, Senator Jackson, calendar 1147, and Senator Hoylman-Siegel, calendar 638.
The amendments are received and the bill will retain its place on the third reading calendar. Senator Gianaris.
Let's begin by taking up previously adopted Resolution 1734 by Senator Chu. Read its title and recognize Senator Chu.
Secretary will read.
Resolution 1734 by Senator Chu, memorializing Governor Kathy Hochul to proclaim May 2024 as Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the state of New York.
Senator Chu on the resolution.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, for allowing me to speak on this resolution. I rise today in celebrating the vibrant tapestry of culture, traditions, and contributions of our AAPI community. We stand in the heart of AAPI Heritage Month and reflect on our offering to the diverse array of languages, cuisines, arts, and customs in our state that can be seen in every aspect of our lives. Our heritage is woven into the very essence of American society, and our influences impacting our respective communities are immense, spanning economy, culture, and political realms. However, even as we celebrate our achievements, we must acknowledge the challenges still faced by the AAPI community. The continued existence of anti-Asian sentiment and hate crimes is a stand on our collective conscience. We must continue to work to ensure that every individual, regardless of race or ethnicity, feels safe, valued, and empowered. Together, we can build a future where every individual, regardless of background or heritage, can thrive and flourish. Today, I'm joined by more than 100 constituents from my district to celebrate our AAPI Heritage Month. I would like to welcome Homecrest Community Service, United Chinese Association of Brooklyn, Chinese American Planning Council, Empowerment of Asian Americans, Brooklyn Asian Civilian Observation Patrol, Mahala USA, Apana Community Center, Fujian United Seniors, the New York Association, All American Chinese Association, and the Guangdong Association. I'm so proud they can be here today to represent the diverse portion of AAPI New Yorker. Now, I would like to use a few seconds to welcome my guests in Chinese. 今天很高兴在这边可以欢迎上百位来自我们松柏之家、华策会、华联会、亚裔民安队、美国广东侨胞联合会、美国华人侨胞联合总会、福建老人互助会、美亚共同促进会、纽约华人总公所的朋友来到纽约州府。我身为你们的州参议员，保护、发展、壮大我们的社区，将你们的声音反映给我们的州府是我的使命。今天你们来到州府，会亲眼见证我通过立法保护我们的亚裔和华人社区。我不会辜负你们的期望，会继续信守对大家的承诺，成为你们在纽约最坚强的后盾。Mr. President, thank you for the moment for me to welcome our guests. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Chu. Senator Stavisky on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Senator Chu. And we are that much better for having Senator Chu in our chamber as part of the diversity. But she was elected to represent the state, and she brings a great understanding. We just heard the, I guess that was Mandarin. So we are very proud of Senator Chu. On the resolution, Mr. President, I am so proud to represent so many people from the AAPI community, both in my current district and in my past district. We are losing population in New York State, and you are coming here and just enriching our lives with your presence, with your culture, with your industry. Everything about the Asian American community, I think, brings us so much more enrichment that we are proud to have you, whether it be in Queens County, where something like 135 languages are spoken. Starting in the early 1800s, I know the Chinese community came and were instrumental in building our transcontinental railroad, with the Korean Americans coming and so forth, and the South Asian community. And we are represented in the legislature, as well we should be. So again, I welcome you to Albany. We hope you had a productive meeting with our colleagues. And again, Mr. President, welcome. Thank you.
To our guests, I welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please rise and be recognized. The resolution was adopted on January 30th. Senator Gianaris.
Mr. President, we've been joined by some distinguished local officials in the chamber today. Senator Martinez would like us to recognize Suffolk County Sheriff Errol Toulon Jr., who's joining us, and Under Sheriff John Becker. And Senator Weber would like us to recognize Rockland County Legislator Dr. Annie Paul. Please welcome them to the chamber.
To our guests who are joining us in the chamber today, I welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please rise and be recognized. Senator Gianaris.
I now move to adopt resolution calendar with the exception of resolutions 2471, 2472, and 2529.
All those in favor of adopting the resolution calendar with the exceptions of resolutions 2471, 2472, 2529, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The resolution calendar is adopted. Senator Gianaris.
Now let's move on to resolution 2529 by Senator Chu. Read its title and recognize Senator Chu.
The Secretary will read.
Resolution 2529 by Senator Chu, mourning the death of Don B. Lee, distinguished citizen and devoted member of his community.
Senator Chu on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President, for letting me come up again to express my heavy heart as AAPI communities across the state mourn the loss of a fearless, dedicated advocate from our community, Mr. Don Lee. Don was a passionate community leader who served as a board chair at Homecrest Community Service for over 20 years and a dear personal friend of mine. Don was not just a champion of justice, but a fearless believer of the betterment of AAPI New Yorkers. His unwavering dedication to the welfare of our community and his profound compassion for those in need sets an example for us all to follow. In commemorating his life and accomplishment through this resolution, we reaffirm our commitment to upholding the value and principles for which he so passionately fought. Values such as dignity for the marginalized and disadvantaged, defending the voiceless, and serving to expand representation and across for those in not only his community, but across both the state and nation. I take this opportunity to reflect on the profound impact of his loss His passing has left a void in our hearts and in our community, a void that can never be fully filled. We find comfort in knowing that while the pain is momentary, his impact on the countless life endures. In the chamber with us today is Homecrest Community Service Executive Director, Ms. Wei Chen, who has been working alongside with Don for the last 30 years during his prophetic career. And she has joined us on behalf of his family, who is still in mourning, as well as additional members from Homecrest. Don was a remarkable friend and mentor for those who knew him, and he will be deeply missed by so many of us within the AAPI community. With this, Mr. President, please let us honor and celebrate the life of Don Lee and continue to carry forward his legacy of a more just but inclusive society for the AAPI community. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Chu. Senator Gennardis on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too rise to mourn the loss of Don Lee, and I want to thank Senator Chu for bringing honor to his memory. Don was someone who I think embodies and embodied all of the things that Senator Chu spoke about in her previous resolution about celebrating the AAPI community, all of the values and accomplishments that she spoke about, all the reasons why these groups and individuals are here today. Don personified the very best of that. And he was someone who left his mark not just on Southern Brooklyn, where I got to know him once I got elected, but across the city and across the state. Someone whose own life story, coming here as an immigrant and having to support himself when he was just 18 years old, and then becoming successful, and never forgetting where he came from or the community that he came from as well, and dedicating his life to the service of others and the uplifting of others. Don's loss is a loss for all of us, and he is someone who will be deeply missed, not just by his beloved Homecrest Community Services, not just by the people who knew him, but by everyone that was touched by his work, whether they knew it or not. They were made better because Don Lee was part of our lives. And so, as we say in my tradition, may his memory be eternal, and we mourn the loss of Don Lee. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Gennardis. Senator Liu on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am very thankful that Senator Chu has brought forth the resolution in memory of our dear friend Don Lee. Don has been a community activist for a long, long time, for decades. And in fact, he was one of the first, and one of the first in Brooklyn, particularly South Brooklyn. We know South Brooklyn as the vibrant Asian community that it is today. Don was there and being active a long time before most of the community was even built up. And one of the things that he started, which you've already heard about, was Homecrest Community Services. I remember when Homecrest just began in the church basement, a small little group, and they grew as the community grew, and they got bigger and bigger to the point today where Homecrest is one of the leading Asian American service organizations, having a base in Brooklyn, but drawing people from all over the city. And that's a lasting legacy to our friend Don Lee. But Don wasn't just about Homecrest. He was about a lot of things. He was about empowerment. He's run for city council. He, in fact, when I first got to the city council a long, long time ago, he was one of the first people who helped me pass the first bill recognizing the Asian Lunar New Year, which we formalized as a school holiday statewide last year. But in 2002, we recognized it as a very special holiday in that you didn't have to move your car in New York City from one side of the street to the other. And that was very meaningful for New York City residents. So Don left us rather suddenly and unexpectedly, and we are still crushed to this day that he's gone. I mean, it's still hard to imagine that Don's gone. But Don has been a true leader and advocate for the community. He's been a friend to me. And yeah, he's sometimes a pain in the neck. But, you know, his legacy will be a lasting one. And Mr. President, I say goodbye to my friend, to our friend, Don Lee. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Liu. To our guests representing Mr. Don Lee and Homecrest, we welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please rise and be recognized. The question is on the resolution. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution is adopted. Senator Gianaris.
Now let's move on to previously adopted Resolution 2250 by Senator Cordell Clear. Read its title and recognize Senator Clear.
Secretary will read.
Resolution 2250 by Senator Clear, celebrating the 126th anniversary of the birth of Paul Robeson.
Senator Clear on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today to speak about one of the most important figures of the Harlem Renaissance, and in all honesty, a man of such wide-ranging talents, accomplishments, and outcomes that he must be considered the quintessential and definitive Renaissance man, Paul Robeson. We were blessed to have our invocation today by the grandnephew of Paul Robeson, Dr. Gregory Robeson Smith, former pastor of Mother AME Zion Church in Harlem, which was founded in 1796 and is the oldest African-American church in New York State. And today is the senior pastor of Mount Hope AME Zion Church in Senator Mayer's district. I'm so grateful that he shared such words of hope on this special occasion for his family and for our state. In 1915, Paul Robeson started his college career at Rutgers as the one and only black student enrolled in the entire college at that time. During that time, he was twice named an All-American for his athletic accomplishments on the football field and graduated as valedictorian of his class. As a Harlem resident, he attended and graduated from Columbia Law School at the same time he played in the NFL. His talent as a vocalist, stage performer, and musical artist blossomed in the 1920s, and Paul Robeson became a fixture and key figure in the Harlem Renaissance. He starred in multiple movies in the 1920s, was an essential figure on stage as an actor and vocalist, and exposed the world to Negro spirituals, eventually going on to record 66 albums and 195 singles in his lifetime. Paul Robeson traveled the world and was profoundly affected by the racism that greeted him and so many other people at home and abroad. As he said, the artist must take sides. He must elect to fight for freedom or slavery. I have made my choice. I had no alternative. He became a human rights activist all over the world, and there was virtually no country or continent that he did not visit to speak out powerfully on the side of right. Like so many others, he was punished by those in political power for exercising his First Amendment rights and advocating for workers' rights, union rights, equal rights, and civil rights. Those years in his life can best be summed up by his quote, "The answer to injustice is not to silence the critic, but to end the injustice." Today, we still have a great deal of work to do to preserve and promote the legacy of this true American icon, Paul Robeson. This resolution is one small step on a path that I hope many of us will walk together to ensure that Paul Robeson is remembered as one of our greatest crusaders for human rights. I proudly vote aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Clear. To our guests, I welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please rise and be recognized. The resolution was previously adopted on May 7th. Senator Gianaris.
Mr. President, we're going to simultaneously take up Resolutions 2471 and 2472, both by Senator Mayer. Please read the title of those resolutions and recognize Senator Mayer.
The Secretary will read.
Resolution 2471 by Senator Mayer, honoring Kojo Sato in recognition of his work to achieve recognition of Fred Korematsu's life and work, and for his work to promote knowledge of Japanese and Japanese American history and culture. Resolution 2472 by Senator Mayer, honoring Takashi and Carolyn Furumoto in recognition of their accomplishments and their critical work to achieve recognition of Fred Korematsu's life and to work to protect civil liberties.
Senator Mayer on the resolutions.
Thank you, Mr. President, and it truly is my honor to speak on both of these resolutions, which honor three outstanding individuals who have brought to our attention the issue that we are going to actually enact today, a bill to commemorate the leadership and the courage of Fred Korematsu, a leader in the community that rejected the requirement that Japanese Americans be interned. And I'll speak at that when we get to the bill. But these three individuals, Koji Sato, Tak, and Carolyn Furumoto, have been leaders in the effort across the country to ensure that the legacy and the true story of Fred Korematsu is part of every state's history. And today we are going to enact a bill to do that, just that. Let me just speak briefly on Koji Sato, currently president of the Japanese American Association of New York, council leader of the U.S.-Japan Council, co-chair of the Westchester Asian American Advisory Board, and on the Board of Governors of the Japanese American National Museum in Los Angeles, the senior vice president and general counsel of Orient Corporation of America. Koji Sato has been a leader in the effort to ensure that the story of Fred Korematsu becomes part of the history of America that is taught and told. And I'm so grateful that he is here with us today. The other two individuals are just extraordinary people. Tak Furumoto was born in the Tule Lake War segregation camp in 1944. He then volunteered for the U.S. Army during the Vietnam War and was awarded the Bronze Star Medal in 1971. He is the founder and honorary chairman of the New York Hiroshima Kai, which creates a bond between the people of Hiroshima and the northern United States, and is a life member of the Japanese American Veterans Association. Together with his wife, who is here, Carolyn Nami Furumoto, who was born to parents who were interned at Tule Lake War segregation camp, the two Furumoto, this couple, has made it their life's work to ensure that we tell the story and honor Fred Korematsu. I also want to particularly thank Carolyn for helping Tak recover from PTSD after his time in Vietnam and for being such a strong partner on this effort. As I said, these three individuals told me a story that I did not know and forced me, really, by their persuasive power to say that New York must honor this legacy of Fred Korematsu, as other states have done. And today we're going to enact a bill, the first day of commemoration for an Asian American that has ever occurred in the state of New York, due to the work of these three individuals who are joining us here today, their leadership, their courage, their vision, and their determination. Please welcome them and extend to them all the privileges of the House.
Thank you, Senator Mayer. To our guests, I welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please rise and be recognized. The question is on the resolutions. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The resolutions are adopted. Senator Gianaris.
Please recognize Senator Ramos for an introduction.
Senator Ramos for an introduction.
Thank you. I rise to welcome the Bengali American Advocacy Group to Senate chambers, together with my colleagues, Senator Robert Jackson and Senator Scarcella Spanton. We want to recognize the president of BAG, Joynal Abedin from Queens, and his organization for all of their work hosting Back to School Drive, student government seminars, and job fairs in our community. BAG empowers the youth, uncles, and aunties to participate actively in civic engagement, and that's exactly how we build power for our immigrant communities, showing up at your legislator's door and sharing your needs. Thank you for bringing our neighbors from Jackson Heights and beyond here to the Capitol to represent our community and engage in our legislative process. Mr. President, please extend to our guests the privileges of the House.
Thank you, Senator Ramos. To our guests, I welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please rise and be recognized. Senator Gianaris.
Take up previously adopted Resolution 1915 by Senator Sepulveda. Read its title and recognize Senator Sepulveda.
Secretary will read.
Resolution 1915 by Senator Sepulveda, commemorating Univision's inaugural broadcast of Premios Soberanos in New York State, the recent naming of a street in Washington Heights to Premios Soberanos Way on March 12, 2024, and the visionary leadership of Acroarte for their exceptional contributions to the Dominican community in the state of New York.
Senator Sepulveda on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President, for allowing me to speak on this resolution. Today we gathered to proudly recognize the visit of the Association of Art Critics, Acroarte, and its president, Wanda Sanchez. It is an honor to comment on the Senate resolution previously adopted, which pays tribute to Acroarte for its tireless work in promoting Dominican art and culture and commemorates Univision's inaugural broadcast of the Soberano Awards in New York State. This resolution underscores the importance and impact of the Soberano Awards, for which 40 years have highlighted the best of artistic and cultural talent in the Dominican Republic and in New York. This recognition is a testament to the respect and admiration these awards have garnered over the years. Not only are we joined by the president of Acroarte, but we're also joined by Roberto Jerónimo, Eugenio Perez, Maribel Contreras, Raymond Abad, Lisette Montillo, Máximo Jiménez, and Francisco Christian. Furthermore, I am pleased to announce that in collaboration with Senator Alexis Victoria Jeb of the Dominican Republic, we extend a formal invitation to Acroarte to hold the 2025 Soberano Awards ceremony here in New York City. This event not only will mark the 40th anniversary of this prestigious award, but also provide a unique opportunity to strengthen cultural ties and friendships between our communities. We eagerly anticipate the possibility of hosting this distinguished ceremony in our great city, celebrating together the cultural richness that unites us. Hoy nos reunimos para reconocer con orgullo la visita de la Asociación de Cronistas de Arte, Acroarte, y su presidenta, Wanda Sánchez. Es un honor comentar sobre esta resolución que rinde homenaje a Acroarte por su incansable labor en la promoción del arte y la cultura dominicana y conmemora la transmisión inaugural de los Premios Soberanos por Univisión en el estado de Nueva York. Esta resolución subraya la importancia y el impacto de los Premios Soberanos, que durante 40 años han destacado lo mejor del artístico y cultural de la República Dominicana y Nueva York. Este reconocimiento es un testimonio del respeto y la admiración que estos premios han ganado a lo largo de los años. Hoy con nosotros no está solamente la presidenta, pero también Roberto Jerónimo, Raymond Abad, Maribel Contreras, Eugenio Pérez, Lisette Montillo y Francisco Cristian. Además, me complace en anunciar que en colaboración con el senador Alexis Victoria Jeb de la República Dominicana, extendemos una invitación formal a Acroarte para celebrar la ceremonia de los Premios Soberanos en el año 2025 aquí en Nueva York. Este evento no solo marcará el 40 aniversario de estos prestigiosos premios, sino que también brindarán una oportunidad única para fortalecer los lazos culturales de amistad entre nuestras comunidades. Esperamos con entusiasmo la posibilidad de albergar esta distinguida ceremonia en nuestra ciudad, celebrando juntos la riqueza cultural que nos une. Muchas gracias. Thank you. I vote aye.
Thank you, Senator. To our guests, I welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please rise and be recognized. The resolution was adopted on March 12th. Senator Gianaris.
At the request of the sponsors, the resolutions are open for co-sponsorship.
The resolutions are open for co-sponsorship. Should you choose not to be a co-sponsor, please notify the desk. Senator Gianaris.
Please take up the calendar, Mr. President.
Secretary will read.
Calendar number 92, Senate Print 1267A by Senator Breslin, an act to amend the insurance law.
Read the last section.
Section 5, this act shall take effect on the 120th day, which shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cuttins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 92, voted in the negative are Senators Borrello and Oberacker.
The bill is passed.
Ayes 59, nays 2.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 367, Senate Print 1233 by Senator Bailey, an act to amend the correction law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cuttins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 61.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 597, Senate Print 6923 by Senator Hinchy, an act to amend the railroad law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 30th day, it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cuttins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 61.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 623, Senate Print 612C by Senator Mayer, an act to amend the election law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect 1 year after it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cuttins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 623, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Borrello, Kinsella Fitzpatrick, Hellman, Lanza, Matera, Murray, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ord, Rhodes, Weber, and White. Ayes 49, nays 12.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 698, Senate Print 8448 by Senator Palumbo, an act to amend Chapter 672 of the laws of 1993.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cuttins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 61.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 769, Senate Print 8884A by Senator Griffo, an act to amend the alcoholic beverage control law.
Read the last section.
Section 4, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cuttins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 61.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 799, Senate Print 3234A by Senator Holman Siegel, an act to amend the insurance law.
Read the bill will be laid aside for the day.
Calendar number 923, Senate Print 8331 by Senator Mayer, an act to amend the executive law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cuttins, White.
Senator Mayer to explain her vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to vote aye on this legislation. We are taking up this bill today because of the hard work and tireless efforts of Koji Sato, Tak Furumoto, and Carolyn Furumoto, who I mentioned earlier, who have dedicated much of their lives to advocating for the recognition of Japanese American history and the contributions of Japanese Americans to the United States. By establishing January 30th as Fred Korematsu Day of Civil Liberties and the Constitution, we are affirming this state's commitment to learning and teaching about the difficult history of Japanese internment camps. In 1942, the United States forced West Coast residents of Japanese descent to leave their homes and communities to be sent to internment camps for the duration of the war. According to the United States National Archives, over 120,000 people of Japanese descent, 70,000 of whom were American citizens, were forcibly moved to these camps. Fred Korematsu, who we are honoring in this bill, was born to Japanese immigrant parents. He refused to leave his home when his family was forced to relocate to an internment camp. He was arrested, convicted in a federal court of disobeying a military order, and sent to a relocation internment camp. He appealed his conviction, but the United States Supreme Court ultimately affirmed it in Korematsu versus the United States. In dissenting from the Supreme Court's ruling, Justice Robert Jackson said Korematsu, quote, has been convicted of an act not commonly a crime. It consists merely of being present in the state whereof he is a citizen, near the place where he was born, and where all his life he has lived. Justice Frank Murphy called the exclusion order the legalization of racism. After the war, when Mr. Korematsu was released from the internment camp, he began his life as a civil rights advocate fighting for the Japanese Americans who were deeply wronged during the war. In 1984, his case was reopened and his conviction was overturned, but the United States Supreme Court never officially overruled its ruling in Korematsu. When the U.S. offered him a pardon, he responded, "I don't want a pardon. If anything, I should be pardoning the government." He was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1998. Today, in the face of a rise in anti-Asian hate and other forms of hate and discrimination, we stand united and advocate that we must tell the painful history of discrimination and mistreatment of Japanese Americans. I want to thank my colleague, Assemblymember Grace Lee, who's carrying this bill in the Assembly. I'm grateful for the work of our guests here today, who, as I said, not only educated me, but have advocated across many states to pass this bill. If the Assembly passes this bill and the governor signs it, New York will join 6 other states, New Jersey, Hawaii, California, Virginia, Michigan, and Arizona, in recognizing January 30th as Fred Korematsu Day. I am proud to sponsor this legislation. Thank you to my colleagues and the leader for bringing it to the floor so quickly this year, and I vote aye.
Senator Mayer, to be recorded in the affirmative, announce the results.
Aye 61.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 9. Calendar number 925, Senate Print 8488 by Senator Fernandez, an act to establish a Latina Suicide Prevention Task Force.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act take effect on the 60th day of shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Aye 61.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 958, Assembly number 9345 by Assemblymember Keller, is an act to amend the not-for-profit corporation law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Senator Webb to explain her vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I want to thank my Assembly colleague for also helping to introduce this important legislation. As we know, and we talk about in this chamber quite often, volunteer firefighters play a critical role in public health and safety, and most certainly in rural districts like mine, they are most certainly essential for healthcare and many other purposes. This legislation is looking to address the ongoing recruitment issue facing many volunteer fire companies by waiving the provision of law limiting non-resident members in a fire corporation to 40% of the actual membership. The Varna Volunteer Fire Company serves the hamlets of Varna and Ellis Hollow within the town of Dryden, which is located in Tompkins County. Like most small fire departments, the Varna Volunteer Fire Company had difficulty recruiting new volunteers within their 16.7 square mile fire protection district. By waiving the non-resident provision of the law, this legislation will allow the Varna Volunteer Fire Company to expand their partnership with 2 local colleges, Cornell University and Ithaca College, to have the ability to recruit new members. This initiative has been successful in rebuilding the fire company ranks with young, active responders, enabling the fire company to provide critical first response services to the communities that they serve. This legislation is necessary to ensure compliance with state law, and it also places a limit on non-resident membership for volunteer fire departments. I vote aye and encourage my colleagues to do the same. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Webb to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 958, voted in the negative, Senator Skoufis. Aye 60, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1031, Senate Print 3310A by Senator Skoufis, enactment of the Public Officers Law.
Read the last section.
Section 4, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sue Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1031, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Borrello, Kanzeri Fitzpatrick, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Lanza, Martins, Matera, Murray, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rhodes, Rollison, Steck, Tedisco, Weber, and White. Ayes 42, nays 19.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1071, Assembly number 4938D by Assemblymember Dinowitz, enactment of the General Business Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 90th day, it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sue Cousins, White.
Senator Borrello to explain his vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am voting in favor of this bill, but I do have concerns. I think we talked in the past about these e-bike batteries being sold, used, and reconditioned. This bill says if it wasn't originally listed and certified by, like, the UL Laboratories, that it cannot be sold. But the reality is a reconditioned battery is not the same battery that it was when it was originally sold. So my concern is that this doesn't really limit the dangers. Yes, if it wasn't originally listed, it wasn't originally inspected, I understand that that's certainly a step in the right direction. But in the end, reconditioning a battery and selling on the used market is not going to be prevented by this bill. And that, I think, is still a safety concern. But I am supporting this bill because it is a move in the right direction. That's why I vote aye. Thank you.
Senator Borrello to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
Ayes 61.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1077, Senate Print 7503B by Senator Clear, enactment of the General Business Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 180th day, it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sue Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 61.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1078, Senate Print 7744C by Senator Chu, enactment of the General Business Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 180th day, it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sue Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 61.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1079, Senate Print 7446A by Senator Chu, enactment of the General Business Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 180th day, it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sue Cousins, White.
Senator Chu to explain her vote.
For allowing me to take this opportunity to explain my vote. Very proud to be a sponsor of today's legislation package to advance this practical solution that protect communities throughout New York State. I know many New Yorkers rely on e-bike, e-scooter to commute or perform their jobs. This package is common sense legislation that prioritizes the well-being of both riders, residents, and our first responder alike. According to FDNY data, e-bike batteries caused 268 fires across New York City last year, resulting in over 150 injuries, with some being fatal. This specific bill will ensure businesses have adequate fire suppression safety measures on hand to protect not only themselves, but their business space and people who live around it. The dangers posed by lithium-ion batteries have gone unchecked long enough and have led to too many fires across New York City, particularly in my district. Today's efforts are another step in the right direction to ensure the safety of all New Yorkers. For all the reasons above, I proudly vote aye. Thank you.
Senator Chu to be recorded in the affirmative. Senator Borrello to explain his vote.
President, this is definitely a bill where we're trying to do something but really not achieving it. Unfortunately, what this bill will say is you need to have a fire suppression system in a small business, a place that might sell bicycles, it also sells e-bikes. And it says that a sprinkler system, along with another fire suppression system, is what's required. I can't figure out what that is. A sprinkler system will not put out a battery fire from an e-bike battery. And a fire suppression system that would look something like an Ansel system that a restaurant uses in a kitchen, which is an incredibly expensive system that I don't believe is intended for putting out battery fires. So I'm not sure what this will do. I'm not sure what the requirement will be, but I do know that it'll hurt small businesses. And keep in mind that these will still be able to be shipped through Amazon and Walmart and everyone else, and putting out small local businesses on our main streets that will not be able to put in the system or afford that system. So I think we need to reconsider how we do this, so I'll be voting nay. Thank you.
Senator Burrell to be recorded in the negative. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1079, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Borrello, Helming, Murray, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, and White. Ayes 54, nays 7.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1080, Assembly number 8102A by Assembly Member Eakes, enactment of the General Business Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sue-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 61.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1083, Assembly number 9338 by Assembly Member De Los Santos, enactment of the General Business Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 90th day, it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sue-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 61.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1100, Senate Print 644A by Senator Mannion, enactment of the election law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sue-Cousins, White.
Senator Steck to explain his vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. We voted on this bill last year. It was brought up on debate, the issues that treating small counties the same as large counties. Hamilton County. Mark Walshick's not here with us. It's his district, but it's next door to mine. We've talked about that a lot. No traffic lights, 4,400 population. They currently have 2 full-time elections commissioners. That's it. Everyone else they need is on call at election time. To mandate that Hamilton County, that's struggling with a small tax base, a small population, is going to go from 2 to mandated 6 commissioners in 4 years from now, according to this bill, just makes absolutely no sense. There should be carve out for small counties. Even better, we should let counties run themselves. If they think they can do it with 2 people, let them do it with 2 people. If they can do it with 4, they can do it with 4. But to treat Hamilton County the same as every other county, or small counties the same as large counties, is just, it's foolish. I'll be voting in the negative. Thank you.
Senator Steck to be recorded in the negative. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1100, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Ashby, Borrello, Kenzani Fitzpatrick, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Lanza, Martins, Matera, Murray, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rhodes, Rollison, Steck, Tedisco, Weber, and White. Ayes 41, nays 20.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1114, Senate Print 5963A by Senator Liu, enactment of the education law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act will take effect on the 1st of July.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sue-Cousins, White.
Senator Liu to explain his vote.
Mr. President, you made history. You are the first Asian American presiding officer of the New York State Senate. And Ewan Chu made history. And Kevin Thomas made history. Today we celebrated AAPI Heritage Month, the month of May. We had a big event in the well. Many of you stopped by. Thank you very much. Many of you grabbed some food on the way out. Thank you also. But there's a lot to celebrate today. It's not only our event, which was a smashing success, the biggest ever we've had in the state capitol. We also celebrated the passage of Senator Mayer's bill that will commemorate Fred Korematsu Day here in the state of New York. We unfortunately mourned the passing, but celebrated the life of a local hero, Don Lee, in Brooklyn. Now, the reality is, though, that most of us have not heard of these people before today. And most Americans haven't heard much about Asian Americans. In fact, a couple of years ago, in the height of the pandemic, and at the height of this onslaught of anti-Asian hate, 2,000 Americans were asked a simple question: can you name an Asian American? Name an Asian American. Out of the 2,000 people, 58% could not name a single Asian American. And of the remaining 42 who could name an Asian American, Jackie Chan was the most common answer. I think he's a little goofy, whatever. But Jackie Chan, the point is, he's not an American. He's not an Asian American. He's in Hong Kong. The second most frequent answer was Bruce Lee. I like Bruce Lee, but he departed us 30 years ago. The point is, Asian Americans have been largely invisible and continue to be today. That's why it was so easy for us to be the victims of hate and bigotry and attacks, both verbal as well as physical. The way to eradicate this kind of hate going into the future is by removing our invisibility, teaching people, teaching our kids about the fact that Asian Americans have been a part of New York history, a part of American history, that we helped build what we have today collectively. And only by doing that, by demonstrating that we are, in fact, Americans as well, not this perpetual foreigner or not this model minority, that we are, in fact, people. That's the only way we can start whittling away and eradicating the hate that so many in our community still face. And that's why I'm so proud that I hope this will pass. Well, actually, you called the roll already. So I'm very happy that the State Senate has once again passed my bill to require the teaching of AAPI history in New York State public schools. Thank you very much for that, and thank you, Mr. President. And you're a history maker.
Senator Liu to be enthusiastically recorded in the affirmative. Senator Thomas to explain his vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank Senator Liu for his leadership in bringing this bill to the floor again. He was the first Asian American to win anything here in New York. All right? They're saying Lou, not boo, all right? Lou. You have done so much for the Asian American community. This bill does so much for the rest of us. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And we all in this state, owe a debt of gratitude to you. So thank you, Senator Liu, and I vote in the affirmative.
Senator Thomas to be recorded in the affirmative. Senator Chu to explain her vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I truly want to stand here to thank my colleague, Senator Liu, for bringing this, and thank to all my colleagues who voted yes and help us to advance this legislation. This piece is truly crucial for all the Asian Americans to be able to be seen, to be heard, to be able to feel they are as equal as everyone else. My daughter, she's growing up here, having education. However, I asked her, she is a second year in high school. I asked her, in your school, what did you learn about Asian Americans? She learned about Asia in social study. She hasn't learned anything about Asian American in America. So it is time for us to advance this curriculum. This is the only way for the Asian American we can stop being treated differently or to avoid those discrimination or being seen as a forever outsider. So I proudly vote aye, and thank you, Senator Liu.
Senator Chu to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
Aye 61.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1117, Assembly number 6811C by Assemblymember Tapia, an act to amend the Public Authorities Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Dabo, Giannaris Kruger, Sue Cousins, White.
Senator Borrello to explain his vote.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. Now, this is called the lithium-ion battery safety program, correct? And I think that's a wonderful idea, but I think there's some unintended consequences we need to be aware of. This basically says that NYSERDA is going to replace batteries for free. There's no limit on this. We also have a rebate if you buy even a used electric bike. So we could create a little cottage industry of folks that are going to buy a used bike, get the rebate, get the free battery, turn around, sell it on the market. There's no limit. It could be thousands upon thousands of these things at taxpayer expense that are going to be out there. I just think that that's a loophole that might be played, and we should be very conscious of that, so I'm voting no. Thank you.
Senator Borrello to be recorded in the negative. Announce the results.
In relation to counter 1117, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Ashby, Castaner Fitzpatrick, Gallivan, Griffel, Helming, Lanza, Martins, Matera, Murray, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Rhodes, Steck, Tedisco, Webbert, and White. Also Senator Borrello. Ayes 43, nays 18.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1122, Senate Print 8659 by Senator Brooke. An act to establish a Black Youth Suicide Prevention Task Force.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 60th day, and shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Senator Brooke to explain her vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to give a somber reminder. The heartbreaking reality is that suicide is the second leading cause of death for young people in America between the ages of 10 and 24. And suicide rate among Black youth is increasing faster than any other racial or ethnic group. In fact, nationwide, the suicide rate among Black youth aged 10 to 17 increased by 144% between 2007 and 2020. When you imagine for a Black LGBTQ youth, they face compounding discrimination and compounding risks for suicide as well. The CDC even finds that high levels of community and police violence result in racial trauma that further adds risk factors for Black youth suicide. This legislation would help ensure that we here in New York, at least, are doing all that we can to address the issue in a focused and dedicated manner. We owe it to Black families across our state to do better. This legislation to create a Black Youth Suicide Task Force will allow us to better understand the causes of Black youth suicide so that we not only prevent these suicide attempts from happening, but we also connect so many young people with the care and resources they deserve. I proudly vote aye.
Senator Brooke to be recorded in the affirmative. Senator Helming to explain her vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have two suicide prevention task force bills on our agenda today, and I am supporting both of them. But I would be remiss if I didn't bring up that there's a third bill that should be on this agenda as well. As a member of the Legislative Commission on Rural Resources and as a member who represents a predominantly rural area, the third bill is a suicide prevention task force that would examine, evaluate, and determine how to prevent suicides among our youth and adults living in rural communities, where oftentimes there are so many challenges accessing services, et cetera. So we still have a couple weeks left in session, and I'm hoping the majority will certainly agree that it is important that we also bring the Rural Suicide Prevention Bill to the floor. Thank you, Mr. President. I vote aye.
Senator Helming to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
Ayes 61.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1123, Assembly number 9337 by Assemblymember Taylor. An act to amend the executive law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Senator Clear to explain her vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate District 30 has tragically suffered a number of tragedies caused by lithium-ion battery fires. In fact, earlier this year, in the middle of winter, in the Hamilton Heights portion of my district, the New York City Fire Department responded to a lithium-ion battery fire to rescue 3 people dangling from a window with a rarely used rope method that, thank God, was able to bring those 3 down safely, but sadly, 1 person perished in this fire, and it injured nearly 20 people. This is just one of dozens of examples in my Senate district and in so many others across New York City and state that underscore the fact that we need to take thoughtful, thorough, and collective action to minimize and mitigate the likelihood of new fires by increasing safety awareness, training, and outreach. Fortunately, today we passed 9 bills in a package that will make a manifest difference in our communities. This package includes 4 bills that I am the primary sponsor of, and I'm thankful to my colleagues for voting aye on those bills.
Senator Clear to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1123, voted in the negative, Senator Steck. Ayes 60, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1152, Senate Print 5537A by Senator May, an act to amend the election law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1152, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Ashby, Kazan Fitzpatrick, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Martins, Matera, Murray, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Rhodes, Tedisco, and White. Ayes 47, nays 14.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1159, Assembly number 6738A by Assemblymember Tague, an act to amend the criminal procedure law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 61.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1167, Senate Print 2776A by Senator Rivera, an act to amend the public health law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 60th day of shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 61.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1190, Senate Print 3512A by Senator May, an act in relation to authorizing Christopher Walzer to take the competitive civil service examination.
There is a home rule message at the desk. Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1190, voted in the negative, Senator Brisport. Ayes 60, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1193, Senate Print 4520A by Senator Stuart Cousins, an act in relation to authorizing Lawrence Ecker to receive certain service credit with the New York State and local employees retirement system.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 61.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1195, Senate Print 5291A by Senator Skoufis, an act granting retroactive Tier 4 status in the New York State and local employees retirement system to Dana Kerstansky.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 61.
The bill is passed. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of today's calendar.
I believe we have a supplemental calendar. Can we please take that up?
Secretary will read.
Calendar number 1116, Senate Print 6660 by Senator Martinez, an act in relation to authorizing a study on lithium-ion battery fires and prevention.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Senator Rhodes to explain his vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will be voting aye on this bill. I voted aye on 8 of the 9 bills that were part of this package. Perhaps the most significant part of the package of bills, though, is the bill that should have come first, which is this bill by Senator Martinez, and I want to thank her for bringing it. As a volunteer firefighter myself, we can attest to the fact of how difficult lithium-ion batteries are to put out. And every single member here that has spoken today on this package of bills has emphasized the fact that these lithium-ion batteries are so incredibly dangerous. The fires are so intense. The damage that they cause is also so intense that we've had over 150 fires so far this year. You had 23 deaths in the city of New York by itself in 2023. You've had more this year. The difficulty that I have, and something that we continue to do in this chamber, is that, and I voted for these bills because it's sort of a shotgun approach, right? We haven't done the study bill first that would help identify some solutions so that we're actually not just having a scattered approach on how we can try and solve this problem. But what we continue to do is create incentives, bill after bill, that creates rebate programs or creates incentives to put these e-bikes with these lithium-ion batteries into more and more homes where they're causing damage. Perhaps what we should be doing is actually pumping the brakes on lithium-ion batteries. We should be banning
the sale of e-bikes until we had this study bill completed so that we can actually stop the problem, pause, find the solutions, enact the legislation, and then move forward. So I will be supporting this study bill. Again, I want to thank Senator Martinez for bringing it, but we should really be reevaluating, in addition to trying to solve this problem, we should be reevaluating the steps that we're taking, making the problem worse in the interim. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Rhodes to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
Aye 61.
The bill is passed. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of today's supplemental calendar.
Mr. President, I have a few motions, so we can return to motions. On behalf of Senator Skoufis on page 33, I offer the following amendments to Calendar 704, Senate 3502A, and ask that said bill retain its place on the third reading calendar.
The amendments are received and the bill will retain its place on the third reading calendar.
On behalf of Senator Liu, on page 47, Calendar 9, I offer the following amendments to Calendar 946, Senate 7801, and ask that said bill retain its place on third reading calendar.
The amendments are received and the bill will retain its place on the third reading calendar.
On page 60, I offer the following amendments to Calendar 1084, Senate 9019, and ask that said bill retain its place on third reading calendar.
The amendments are received and the bill will retain its place on the third reading calendar.
On behalf of Senator Harkam, I wish to call up Senate Print 5620A, recalled from the Assembly, which is now at the desk.
Secretary will read.
Calendar number 343, Senate Print 5620A by Senator Harkam, an act to amend the executive law.
To the vote by which the bill was passed.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ortsu, Cousins White, aye 61.
The bill is restored to its place on the third reading calendar.
I offer the following amendments.
The amendments are received and the bill will retain its place on the third reading
Is
calendar.
there any further business at the desk?
There is no further business at the
I
desk.
move to adjourn until tomorrow, Wednesday, May 22nd at 3 p.m.
A motion, the Senate stands adjourned until Wednesday, May 22nd at 3 p.m.